Okay, hi everyone. Welcome back to the JC Recovery Center channel. Today we are doing a video with one of our alumni, Joe, and we were having a discussion earlier and it was just so beautiful that I wanted to bring it to you guys. And the title of this discussion is How Prejudice Keeps Us from Recovering. And prejudice was defined to me as a prejudgment. And even with the word prejudice, I had a prejudgment. I thought that prejudice only meant maybe towards like a group of people or towards something else, but there's so many things in my own life that I had a prejudgment, a prejudice towards. And throughout the 12-step program in AA and NA, Celebrate Recovery, whatever it might be, we get to look at some of those prejudices and see how they keep us stuck, how they keep us in a place of resentment, how they keep us in a place of disconnection and separation and ego, and it ultimately prevents us from building a relationship with God. Yes. And so I want to talk about that today because Joe had some really great insight on that, and I have my own experience. And so my question for you, Joe, is how has prejudice in the past kept you from recovering, kept you from finding God and finding a recovery program?
It's kept me in a real comfortable state of denial. I've been able to justify to myself with plenty of reasons that make perfect sense to me that I was comfortable with of why I wouldn't do a faith-based program, why I didn't want to go to Narcotics Anonymous or Alcoholics Anonymous. Faith-based, it's a cult, they're a bunch of weirdos, I don't fit in. AA's a bunch of old dry drunks that are miserable that I can't relate to. Narcotics Anonymous it's a fashion show, nobody's serious about recovery.
Exactly. We create these ideas, these prejudgments, contempt prior to investigation, these ideas about things before we ever actually explore them.
And that's the thing, I had never experienced any of these things, but because it was made sense to me, I didn't even need to. I knew, in my own mind, I knew I was right, that I wasn't going to go be a part of.
Right. And how long did that keep you in active addiction?
Years. I had originally, I'll tell you a story. My first treatment over 15 years ago, I walk into the center down in Maryland, and as I'm walking in, they're holding a big group, and it was kind of like a mock meeting. And I hear...
Like a mock AA meeting?
Correct. So I hear, a guy introduce himself. Oh, my name's Bob. I'm an alcoholic. And the whole crowd goes, hey, Bob. I says, get me out of here right now. I fought it tooth and nail for years and years. And it was all fear-based,
It is all fear-based. And just off of that one meaning of making that split judgment of saying, no, this isn't for me because it makes me feel uncomfortable or I don't know what it is, so therefore I'm scared of it because engaging in something that is unknown to me, exploring things that I have these prejudgments about that I haven't really done the examination of or the exploration of, keeps me in a place where I stay stuck and I never get to learn anything new. I never get to experience anything new because fear tells me don't do that. It's not something you know, and you want to remain in comfortable denial.
That's right.
Yeah. And I know from my experience, that prejudgment of spirituality, of religion, kept me in a place where I was stuck for a very long time, even in recovery. Not only did it keep me in addiction for a long time because I was very much in a place where I believed that anything spiritual or religious equaled hypocrisy or equaled condemnation or punishment because I was ignorant. I didn't understand. I wasn't raised with any faith. I wasn't raised with any religion. And so I just went based off what I had seen on TV or what I had heard in news stories or anything like that. And it kept me in a place where I was unwilling to hear what other people had to say because I had already made a prejudgment. I had already made up my mind without evidence of the fact. I had just made up my mind.
And in the life of addiction, there's no love, and there's no people that are genuinely looking out for you, and to make that transition from, always looking over your shoulder, always being guarded, to being open and allowing people in, and being loved and loving others. It's alien. It's a foreign concept.
And again, it takes us back to that fear-based, because if I allow myself to open my mind to other people's ideas, to relationships with other people, to trust, to understanding, different types of solutions to my problem, even though I obviously had never been able to find the solution to my problem, I was still closed off to new ideas to it. That keeps me in a place of comfort, because fear says, no, don't do the things that make you uncomfortable.
And I always returned to I went to the source of my pain for my solution.
Right.
Which was just a vicious cycle for years and years and years.
Yeah.
And, it wasn't until, until you go down that same road, or, try the same things time and time and time again, the definition of insanity, where it's just so exhausting, to where it's just, you beat down to that point of, okay, I'm willing to do anything at this point.
Right.
And, for me, that was, and I could relate. I had no experience. I had no, religious background in all my life. And the only thing that I was exposed to was something that it was, I wasn't attracted to it. But it wasn't until I had my own experience. It wasn't until, I did the altar call at Calvary, and I met people, and I started to see that, it's not so much about the religion as it is, it's only what Christ's two new commandments of, love the Lord and love your neighbor. It kind of takes the weight off of the 10 Commandments, and being, this perfect walk, and knowing that we're forgiven. And, if all I get out of being a Christian is learning to love, I'm okay with that. But I know there's so much more.
Right.
But that's what I'm working on now.
Yeah. So just to kind of recap how prejudice keeps us from recovering, and then we'll share a little bit about our own experience of how recovery has alleviated that prejudice, and how we now have created, healing and love and transformation in our lives. But to recap what we've said is that prejudice, a prejudgment, keeps us from exploring new ideas, new concepts, and new groups of people. And we can see how that is very relevant in our world today. And when we are unwilling to open our eyes to new ideas, concepts, beliefs, and practices, that we prevent ourselves from having new experiences. And we don't get to change and understand what works for us until we have new experiences. So prejudice keeps us stuck in a place, I love the term comfortable denial. It keeps us stuck in a place of comfortable denial, in a place of misery that becomes comfortable, and seeking the same solution in addiction to alleviate that pain and suffering, which is drugs and alcohol, because that's our coping skill and that's what we turn to. So prejudice keeps us turning back to a drink or a drug, and closes our mind off to the ideas and spiritual concepts that are available in a treatment program, and that leads us to a 12-step program that helps us maintain long-term sobriety.
That's right.
And so what has your experience been being in recovery with now knowing how toxic prejudice can be? How has that opened up your life to new relationships and experiences?
I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. And I mean, it's not that, and I don't mean that as in a, I don't know, it's not a location, it's not, a geographical place. It's it's something inside of me that's changed, that being open-minded, being willing, and kind of I don't know. I get stuck on it because it's for me. There's just so many different ways of describing it, or it's just so big. I feel like that there was a wall in my life, or there was a barrier in my life.
Yes.
That I was cutting myself off from experiencing so much more in life, like as you're describing, the new people, experiences, finding things within myself that I didn't know exist, or I was afraid to expose and allow other people to know that were inside of me.
Right.
And all that I can say is that by staying in that comfortable state of denial, how much we're robbing ourselves, how far we're cutting ourselves short, how we're selling ourselves short. We're selling the world short because, the what we have inside of us, if we're just keeping that inside of us, and we're not giving it to other people, and like what you do, Katie, if you kept everything you had inside of you, this wouldn't be happening. We wouldn't be reaching all these people right now. And, that's just the way this all works. You have the spiritual awakening that, and then you go and carry the message to other people.
That's beautiful. And that's exactly what happens, is that when we take away the prejudgment, when we take away judgment in general upon ourselves and upon others in the world, we start to open up our eyes to the humanity that is around us, and the humanity that we have. And that humanity is divinely inspired, divinely anointed, however you want to say it, by God. And when we do that, we start to experience, right? Because the prejudice blocked us off from experiences. So now without the prejudgments, without the judgment, without the prejudice, we start to have new experiences, internal and external.
That's
we
right.
start to feel the love. We start to feel more self-sufficient. We start to feel worthy and belonging. And in that, we share our divine story, our testimony, like you did your Testimony Tuesday, with other people. And through that, we build connection, and it creates healing, and it spreads love into the world. Prejudice breeds hate. Prejudice breeds toxic relationships. It breeds a separation and isolation, and that keeps us in addiction. And so not only does it keep us in addiction, but it keeps us in a place of everlasting ignorance, right?
That's
Contempt prior to investigation. And when we are able to start to open our mind and be accepting of other people, and accepting of new ideas, and accepting of ideas that are in opposition to our own, right? And being able to see, like, okay, maybe there's a little bit of good in that, and a little bit of bad in mine, and a little bit of bad in theirs, and a little bit of good in mine. Then I can start to see, the world as a much safer place. I can start to have a clearer vision of what's happening around me, and I can start to allow myself to engage in the things that are going to help me heal and help me find recovery.
Yeah, and I think within everything you just said, it's, we learn to navigate in a safer manner. Discernment, and this is a definition that I loved of discernment, is being able to see the outcome of a situation before you get in it. And then, you've touched on a couple of things where, like, in the word it says, my people will perish from lack of knowledge. And the fact that we are created to be in relation, when, all these things that you're saying, that we get this self-confidence, and these things that we build up in ourselves that we lacked in the past, they come back. There's days where I'm sure you doubt yourself.
Of course.
But then that's where, if that's the case, and we talk about it with somebody that, that can build us back up. And that's why it's so important that we stay open, we speak to each other, we become vulnerable, and, that's what keeps this program motoring on.
Yes. And that's exactly it. And, at JC's Recovery Center, we truly believe in giving our clients the opportunity and the tools and the resources and the therapy from qualified individuals who can help them build the trust that they need to begin to be vulnerable, that can help them alleviate some of the past traumas and guilt and shame that are blocking them off from that place, or open their eyes to new ideas and concepts, and connect them with the people in the world, in the recovery community, within the church communities, within a lot of the other healing centers that we're connected to down here, and help them build that new mindset to help them open their eyes to these new ideas so that they can recover.
And as for JC's, my experience in numerous other, halfway houses, treatment facilities, there's no other, there's places, above and beyond, just a different breed of recovery. The way they combined the faith-based, with the AA and, whatever other 12-step programs, Celebrate Recovery, Narcotics Anonymous, they support, all the 12-step programs, but it's with the structure they have here, the fellowship they have here, it's just,
and the diversity. There's so many different people from all over the nation, all walks of life, and we start to connect with people that we would not normally connect with, and we foster that sense of family here. And
Absolutely.
I think that's I know from the stories that I hear from the clients who graduate our program, from the clients who are still connected to our program that have stayed sober for years and years and years. The bottom line is that there's a sense of family here that helps them feel loved and accepted, and gives them the courage that they need to open their mind and start to accept new ideas into their life and relieve that prejudice so that they can engage in the programs that they need to maintain long-term sobriety.
And no matter where we come from, if it's the trailer park, the projects, the rich neighborhood,
right.
We all have a common bond, and it's, the dependence of one substance or another that we're all trying to overcome, and the spiritual deficiency that 99% of the people walk into these places with.
Yeah.
And like you said, that's something that is most definitely fostered here, the growth of that.
Thank you so much, Joe. I really appreciate your input on this. So, just to kind of walk us through, again, a little bit of a recap, just to really summarize everything we just talked about, is that prejudice keeps us in addiction through closing our mind off to new ideas and experiences. And until we have those new ideas and experiences and we start to lean into them, we can't understand what's available to us in recovery. And that when we let go of the prejudice, we let go of the prejudgment, and we work through them, we get to step into a recovery process that helps transform our mind, give us a spiritual experience, a psychic change that then helps us build new relationships with people, that helps us build a new relationship with ourselves, so that we can experience a sense of freedom and love from God that then creates a life beyond anything that we could have ever imagined. Our wildest dreams. That's right. My cliche that I like. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you like this, please drop a comment below. If you want to hear more about this topic, or you have something else that you'd like to hear Joe or I talk about, please leave a comment below and let us know what it is that you related to or what you're looking to hear more about. We appreciate you. We love you because we are you, and God loves you because you are his child. God bless you guys. See you later.
Bye-bye.